Sustainability. It's the ability to act through your normal daily routines, whatever action you want to do, but do them in such a way that you do not destroy, you don't use up the world.
Summer. Sun rises over the prairie, illuminating and nourishing everything that grows there. The plants and the soil seem almost to breathe in the light. It is the source of life.
I'm Don Geiger and work with MEEC, Marianist Environmental Education Center. I was born about 2 miles from here in the city of Dayton, down in Xenia Avenue area, which is almost downtown. A few years ago, this was turned over into a green space, which is kind of the center of campus was focusing on a green space. So that's quite a change. This building, the Kennedy Union, was just completed in 1964 when I got here. The question of trees and buildings, I think we went from the early campus where trees were part of a woodland, and there's a lot of value on those trees, to a point where the main consideration was how do the buildings, placement of the buildings. And if they did that, then the trees got in the way, well, we always plant another tree somewhere else. I'm sure somebody living then would not recognize what we see now. And what we see now doesn't exactly remind us of what was then. I mean, you can hardly imagine large oak trees and cows grazing and ponds of water and a stream. Oh, it's a parking lot. Yeah, when they started developing this side of the campus, these buildings that we see in front of us right now, they went from the last of the habitats, the last of the wet areas, and there was a stream running through here and so on. All of that went, they removed the soil, the hydric soil, and replaced it with something that the building could sit on and not settle. You know, we're not trying to blame anybody or embarrass anybody. We're just saying, you know, suppose we think about the possibilities of doing some restoration work, something positive that we can do, and use it as part of our education. One of my favorite places, our family had the tickets for entry into Old River Park, and so we would come here frequently as a family, and I was 5, 6 years old, something like that. Do a lot of a lot of canoeing over here on the lagoon.
At the University of Dayton's River Campus, previously known as Old River Park, Brother Geiger discusses preservation and its importance for a healthy local environment. The director of the Rivers Institute, Leslie King, sustains Brother Geiger's care for the local environment.
Hi, I'm Leslie King. I'm the director of the Rivers Institute at the University of Dayton. And the Rivers Institute is a community building initiative that looks at our rivers and aquifer as the most strategic natural resource in our community for vitality, economic, aesthetic, communal, and ecological vitality.
Meek provides vital information and experiences for Dayton's community, promoting active education on topics of land preservation, restoration, and the spirituality and land ethics of living sustainably. The Brother Don Geiger Prairie, Beavercreek, Ohio. Located off East Patterson Road at Mount St. John Nature Preserve and bordering Interstate 675, this prairie exemplifies Brother Don Geiger's work in preservation, restoration, and sustainability.
The prairie started when I arrived on this property and realized that they were taking about 50 feet of the geological structure. It's called an esker. It's about 200 feet of sand and gravel. And they were mining that for use on the road out there that they were building. I saw this big hole in the ground, and they said that when they're finished, they're going to plant some highway grass on it. And that means we're going to be mowing grass and taking care of another big lawn. So a friend of mine who works for an organization that does restoration, a good friend of mine, we sat down and talked about this and said maybe we ought to try building a tall grass prairie.
Every Saturday, Brother Geiger meets with nearly a dozen community members who are involved in restoring the prairie's natural habitat. The land has been suffocated by invasive plant species such as teasel and cattail. These non-native plants encroach on the environment and make it hard for native species to survive. In an attempt to restore and preserve the prairie's wetland, Brother Geiger and his team apply chemicals and manually remove invasive plants.
They managed to put all of the cool season grasses here in a hot climate because they thought they looked better. So 99% of the grasses you see are going to turn brown in summer. But this place, the native one is about twice as wide a leaf. 40% of the plants you see here have been from Europe and Asia. They're better than the U.S. plants.
I mean, you mean stronger?
No, they think they're better.
They thought
In the 1800s, the plants that were here didn't look like where they came from, so they're no good. So let's bring stuff from where we came from, which screwed up everything, because where they came from was cool, and this gets hot. So what happens in the grasses in the June? They turn brown. What happens to the native grasses? They grow faster.
Brother Geiger embodies active participation in Dayton's local natural environment.
If you can't grow up in the woods, then at least get out there and experience oceans, rivers, woods, just all sorts of natural areas. And it's important that you're in a natural, not just looking at something pretty, but that you're sensing the activity of the system.
Identifying the prairie flowers and other plant species may seem complicated, but Brother Geiger assures us that a simple field guide can help.
This is a prairie we planted here, and you see the flowers. Okay, back here, flower type. How many flower parts does it have?
5.
5. That's a 5. Now what kind of leaves does it have? No leaves, leaves only at the bottom. Alternate leaves or opposite leaves? Are these alternating or opposite?
Opposite.
They're opposite. Okay, that's a 4. 5, 4. Are the leaves entire?
No.
Are they entire, or do they have teeth on the ends? Do they have teeth?
Yes.
Okay, this one, does it have teeth on it?
No.
Okay, so it's entire. It's not divided. 542. There's 542, right? Are the petals separate?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess so, individual, yeah. Separate. Is it divided into a tube? Okay, here's the tube underneath. See that tube? See the tube under the flower? A tube. Okay, so I think it's up at the top one here. Dry habitats. Let's try 258. 258, okay? It came to 258, right? We go to page 258, all right? See it right there? It's got this tube on the bottom. Does that look like the flower? It's a royal catchfly. Each one of these, you see the yellow pollen? Each one of these is a flower. Hundreds of flowers on there. You think that's the flower, no, but each one of those is a flower. And you notice the butterfly goes into each one of those. It's picking up each flower. See it going? Putting its head down. The relationship between spirituality and the ability to live in harmony with the earth and with the processes. It comes about because I think that spirituality enables you to appreciate the gift of the earth and its potential. And that's the first thing you have to do, is appreciate and respect. And that's where spirituality comes in there, into the play. This is a key issue, is to have a spirituality that involves the earth. It's not just all heaven, and it has to do with the earth, because that's essential to respect where we live, so that others may share that life.
Huffman Prairie, Dayton, Ohio. Less than 20 miles away from James M. Cox Dayton International Airport and a neighbor to the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Huffman Prairie represents the essence of local preservation and natural beauty.
What's interesting about Huffman Prairie today is that it's a place that looks very much like what the brothers saw when they came out here in 1904 and flew in 1905, and then back in 1910. It's been difficult at times for us to keep the integrity of Huffman Prairie the way it is today. There were efforts made to build an interpretive center out here as part of the National Park designation. But those of us who saw the opportunity to keep it just the way the Wright brothers saw it when they were flying here in the early 20th century, we resisted those efforts.
While the prairie landscape remains the same, the location has a rich and developed history. In fact, Huffman Prairie's history has long been influenced by its location, as it exists in the cradle of early aviation.
Behind me is the prairie that is the natural history part of this location. It's one of the few remaining tall grass prairies in the state of Ohio. It has some of the prettiest wildflowers here, and it's a place that we've used to harvest seeds and share those with other communities for the purpose of populating prairies like this in other locations throughout the state, as well as throughout the country. The prairie in front of me is where the Wright brothers flew. When they came back from Kitty Hawk in 1903, they knew that for them to be successful in developing the airplane that they flew at Kitty Hawk in 1903, that they were going to have a place to fly in their local community.
In December of 1903, the first tremors from the brothers' history-changing impact were felt. Following their experimentation at Huffman Prairie, the Wright brothers occupied a beach in North Carolina and achieved their first sustained flight for 57 seconds. Orville Wright immediately sent a telegram to his sister, Catherine Wright, explaining their success and urging her to deliver a press kit to the Dayton Journal.
Success, 4 flights Thursday morning, all against 21-mile wind, started from level with engine power alone. Average speed through air, 31 miles, longest 57 seconds. Inform press, home Christmas. Orville Wright.
Given the wide open yet private space, as well as lack of severe wind gusts, Huffman Prairie proved a valuable resource for the Wright brothers' adventures in flight more than 100 years ago. And here we are, right now, in the year 2016. The Wright brothers could not have foreseen the immense impact of their endeavors in aviation, which first began at Huffman Prairie. Autumn. The prairie has matured. The grasses and other plants are fully grown. They have lived vibrantly. The light fades, the season changes, the earth rests. Winter. Snow falls gently, blanketing the prairie in white. The earth is still and silent. Life has paused.
This is the way we control keeping the trees out of the prairie and controlling some of the weeds by periodic burning about 1/3 of the prairie each year. And we're interested in doing that 1/3 so we don't kill all of the plants and animals in the prairie. There's always 2/3 of them left. Strips at a time, and that way the fire dies out and doesn't spread, doesn't become out of control. It gets to be about 55 degrees Fahrenheit, which is generally in probably April